severe casualties or anything like that until the cops showed up. Most of what we were dealing with was like people who were dehydrated, overheated, things like that. Then the police show up, and the degree of just how severe people were being injured escalated within a matter of minutes. Now we were seeing broken bones. We were seeing bleeding wounds, open bleeding wounds that literally looked like real gunshot wounds. National Guard, they started coming down the street, and they were just shooting at people, shooting tear gas, rubber bullets, and they approached our tent. We saw them coming closer to our tent. So we all put our hands up like this to show that we were of no threat. When the firing began, I was all the way up at the front actually, working on a guy who was shot in the leg and he was bleeding. So I was just trying to apply pressure to his wound by just putting gauze and like wrapping it. All I could see was like bullets flying by me and ricocheting off of other objects. By that point, almost everybody else in the tent was gone. And I felt so bad, but I ended up leaving him. I don't understand why they would do that. They could have asked us to leave.
We had a situation where police had cleared some folks from the streets and had pushed them onto the sidewalk. So there were people, probably 2 or 3 layers deep of people on the sidewalks, and they were just, very liberally using tear gas, mace, pepper spray. My medic partner and I had intercepted some protesters who were sort of collapsed on the sidewalk because they couldn't see, they couldn't breathe, and we were attempting to treat them, only to notice the police were sort of advancing, down the sidewalk, and we had to pick them up. So I had a protester with their arm sort of around my shoulder, and we were walking down the street with some of the other protesters fleeing the police. And we decided to duck down into an alley for some protection. I looked over my shoulder and realized that some police officers had followed us. One police officer just looked like he was gonna have some fun, just big grin across his face, and he just charged right at this protester who was standing maybe 5 feet away from me. Shoulder charged her, she was airborne, she landed in a pile of construction equipment. And then he turned his sights on me and charged me directly. Again, I'm standing there with this protester. Their arm is over my shoulders and they can't see very well. And I basically shoved the protester away from me and held my ground until the very last second when I sidestepped him. I moved out of the way and he sort of glanced off my shoulder. And then there was a legal observer about 15 or 10, 15 feet behind me. And he very quickly, sort of advanced on her, and she calmly put her hands up and she said, "Officer, I am a legal observer." And he knocked the glasses off her face and grabbed her by the shirt, pulled her in real close, maced her directly in the face, and shoved her and let her go. And they left the alley, and they basically left us there to clean up their mess. There's no way that officer didn't know I was a medic. This is my kit. It's a red kit. I have this helmet with the crosses on it. I wear a red cross. I have an armband that says first aid on it. I'm a very, very visible medic. The legal observers in that alley had their, their neon green hats on that say legal observer on them. It was noon on a sunny Saturday. There's no way that those police officers didn't know who they were following down that alley.
The riot cops would just scream, "Move!" And I was up there at the front of the line with my green hat on as a legal observer, and there was nowhere to go. Absolutely nowhere to go. There were tons and tons of people behind us. We're on a bridge, so there's water on both sides of us, and then there's hundreds of riot cops in front of us. And then when people didn't move, because they couldn't, the police just started swinging their batons indiscriminately at people, grabbing them, pulling them down to the floor, beating them up with their batons, and then taking them away past the scrimmage line and arresting them. and I was trying to get names of arrestees. The cops would make it really difficult because whenever I asked for a name, they would start screaming at me and beating me with a baton as well. Officers dressed in full riot gear ran up to these kids indiscriminately and just started spraying pepper spray in their face. Like, no order to disperse, nothing. I was the fourth one that they came up and pepper sprayed. I had my green hat on, and they just came and pepper sprayed me in the face and said nothing. I was standing on the sidewalk. They pepper sprayed like 2 or 3 more people, and then they got back in their tank. They just wanted to pepper spray people. There's no other explanation for it.
Of course, they're using excessive force, as usual, against people who are in just regular street clothes, who present absolutely no threat to them. No one has any weapons. These are peaceful protesters who are literally getting shot at for standing somewhere.